This week in the podcast, I spoke to Joe and Jack of Conscious Pilot. Conscious Pilot are a Glasgow-based band that evolved from the ashes of another band. I spoke to Jack and Joe about this new project and what's coming up in the future. Their EP, Epoxy Plains, was released last Friday, 8th of March, and it's available to stream on all streaming platforms, so go and have a listen. Please keep listening, sharing, commenting and enjoying the podcast. Thanks again for listening. This week on the podcast, I've got Joe Laycock and Jack Sharp from Conscious Pilot, a band that just started out October last year. They've got an EP coming out Friday the 8th of March, which will be after this podcast, but you can go and stream it. Conscious Pilot came from the ashes of other band Cheap Teeth. So we're going to talk about all that. We're going to talk about the band's career and how it evolved for Cheap Teeth into Conscious Pilot and lots of other things. And then at the end, the band are going to pick their heroes. But what I like to do at the start of the podcast, what was life like for you growing up as young boys? Where did you grow up and how did that start your journey into music?
It's quite a good question, to be fair. And I think it's quite good that you've got myself and Jack on, because we've known each other for years and years and years. So we actually went to high school together. So we met when we were maybe 11. And funnily enough, my brother used to go out with his sister. And that's how we kind of made friends, because they kind of was like, right, you need to start hanging out with each other, because
I think
to look after each other in school.
It was more of a plea from my sister to Joe's brother to be like, please can your brother hang out with my brother, because I was, I don't know, being a bit of a reprobate, I think, and Joe was cool yet sensible and a good influence. So
I take that.
It all worked out.
So then we started doing that, and then we had a high school band. And myself and our good friend Tom, who used to be in Cheap Teeth, and our good friend Isaac were in a high school band. And Isaac's actually in the most recent Conscious Pilot video. So he's playing drums on the most recent Conscious Pilot video for Benny Dorm. So that's already out. So anyone who's seen that can see Isaac from our high school band. So it's funny really how it's all kind of come back together. And then there was myself, Tom and Isaac, and then we really needed someone to play bass. And I knew that Jack was good at Guitar Hero, so we told him to come and play bass for us in the band.
Yeah, like it's weird thinking about how important the time that I went round to Joe's and played Guitar Hero was for my life's trajectory, because that made him ask me to play bass. He gave me, it was your uncle's bass, wasn't it? He gave me your uncle's bass, and then we were practicing at Shelf Village Hall, where we're from, and oh yeah, you guys reminiscing now.
Yeah, we're reminiscing now. It's very sweet.
What was your early influences musically? Were you both into the same sort of music?
Yeah, I think where we're from, obviously we're from Yorkshire, and we were around at a time where it was just massive to listen to Arctic Monkeys, because obviously when we were growing up, it was just like they were the band from Yorkshire, they were the poster boys. And, you know, we were well into that. And then there was also a lot of other Yorkshire bands like the Cribs, who were also doing really good things, and you kind of evolved from there, really. So I think it probably all started from a shared love of that kind of music, and then kind of evolved and went on as we got older, and kind of obviously you spread your gaze out a bit further and you pick up new stuff. But yeah, I think there's a lot of Yorkshire music and a lot of Yorkshire bands that are at the root of what we like.
Yeah, it's funny, like you got me thinking about it, and obviously we came at a time that was a bit late for that, like early noughties stuff, but there was weirdly a bit of a revival in that with young people when we hit kind of high school. I think it was because I have a very early memory of being in Joe's dad's car and his dad just hitting the steering wheel away to Room on Fire, Stroke's second album. So I think there's something to do with your dad. And I think you were quite influential at school in terms of music. So maybe that revival kind of stemmed from Simon.
Maybe it's all down to my dad, yeah.
In that steering wheel.
He'd love to hear that, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is funny because obviously I've been listening to you the last few days, and that's the sound that I get for it is the Cribs and Franz Ferdinand. It's like the singing style, I think, for you yourself, Joe. Sometimes it sounds like Ryan Jarman. That's it. So I don't know.
That's probably the soft kind of. Yeah, that's probably the soft, like West Yorkshire adenoidal accent coming through a little bit. So yeah,
have to start writing more Aos.
Yeah, if I did a few Aos, then I think it would probably be a Cribs song.
So, how did Cheap Teeth come into the fore? What happened there?
How did it begin? So, we moved up to Scotland. Well, I moved up to Scotland, and we wanted to start a band up there. And Jack wasn't in Cheap Teeth when we first started, but he really kicked into a new gear when Jack came in. And yeah, we had a good time. Obviously, a good few years, just kind of being a Scottish band. And obviously, we've come back up now to Scotland to start Conscious Pilot. And it's funny, like people always classed us as a Scottish band in Cheap Teeth. There was only one of us who was Scottish. And then the same again now with Conscious Pilot. There's only one of us who was Scottish. It's the drummer, Chris. Mm-hmm. But everyone's always like, oh, you're a Scottish band. And when we came back up, it was like, oh, we're glad you're back and all this sort of stuff. So it was really nice. And I think it really justified our decision to move back up here and start as a Scottish band, because that's what we wanted to do. But I think it's been a really good decision.
Where are you based in Scotland?
So we're in Glasgow. Yeah, all the bands in Glasgow, which is really nice. We've got the benefit of all being quite close to each other now, so we're practicing quite a lot. We've got a lock up, and yeah, it's been really good. So we're South Side, so big up Mount Florida.
Yeah, South Side's really good.
I'm going to a gig on Saturday in Rutherglen. I'm going to see a band with a view of managing them. So obviously South Side. That's
Rutherglen.
That's funny. That's not far from where I work, Rutherglen.
So
what venues are what venues in Rutherglen?
Harley's Bar or something it is. A wee lassie, Robin Ashcroft, she's playing at it as well, which I've seen her support. She supported Andrew Cushion last year, so she's quite high up. But the band I'm going to see they've sold the most tickets as a headliner.
Nice.
It's it's a second gig.
Nice, good effort. Yeah, especially in getting people down and out to Rutherglen rather than being in the city centre. It's good.
Yeah. So what brought you up to Scotland then? Was it university?
So in the first place it was, I can only speak for myself here. But when I moved up to Scotland when I was 19, it was for university, yeah. But then when we've come back this time, and it was a lot to do with the music. So, we knew a lot of people up here from before, and we knew the people really appreciate the music in Glasgow and especially Scotland as well. Like, we've played quite a few gigs. We were lucky to play a few gigs around the UK with Cheap Teeth, and we know the Scottish gigs were always some of the best, if not the best, because the people just really like it. They're very supportive, and they'll just let you know, and they'll be really honest with you. If you're rubbish, they'll tell you. So I think it's a good place to start a new band, because you probably learn a lot from your first few gigs, and then just get better quite quickly. So yeah, it's been really, really good.
Crowds are good in Glasgow. Like, I think Glaswegians in general are quite extroverted people, whereas where we're from, people, and it's just differences in people, but people from Yorkshire can be quite reserved, and at gigs that manifests in them being kind of chin scratches sometimes, which I think I can be bad for doing that. But whereas in Glasgow, I don't know, we played what were technically some of our worst gigs. I remember we played what is it? It's not McNeil's.
McQuill's.
and like the drum kit just like fell apart while we were playing, and it was like mad. But even though we were having a really hard time on stage, like because they all liked the music, like the crowd was like going nuts, you know. So it's like once you've won people over here, they really like Joe was saying, they let you know about it, that they're into it, and they kind of are very loyal.
Yeah. Cheap Thief had a run of singles for 2018 through to 2023. Obviously, there was a pandemic in amongst that. So, was the pandemic part of kind of the reason the band kind of fell apart?
No, I don't think so. I think there was a lot of bands that suffered from that, and it was a really tough time for bands to kind of come back after that. But I think we were quite patient and we didn't try rush anything during the pandemic. And it just meant that when we came back, we'd had a bit of time to write some more songs and stuff. And I think a lot of the singles we put out after that were written in lockdown and stuff. So it wasn't the worst for us, and it definitely didn't contribute to us kind of ending at all. But I think, yeah, one of our big regrets in Cheap Teeth is we just probably didn't put enough music out. And I think that's one of the things we want to try and correct with Conscious Pilot is put more music out. You know, like you said, we had a bunch of singles from 2018 to 2022, but there's only a handful there. And I think, you know, we obviously have the EP coming out of Conscious Pilot. That's already a handful of songs. Then we're going to be looking at singles, a couple more singles this year already, and then moving on to next year. So I think something we want to do is just increase the output a bit really and, you know, crack on.
And how does songwriting work then? Like you mentioned songwriting with Cheap Teeth, how's it evolved with Conscious Pilot?
Yeah, I think because we're all in the same city, it's allowed us to practice more. So we're writing a lot more in the room. So like obviously for the EP, we kind of recorded that stuff before we formed the like current lineup. So that was a different writing process in itself because that was kind of just me and Joe in a room at a place called Mabgate that was like a DIY space we used to be involved with. We just sat in there and recorded demos. Whereas now, you know, Chris and Emmy, who are both great and have their own journeys and stories that have brought them to this point, are very much involved in the process of writing. And it's more kind of like we'll lay the foundations of something out in the room and kind of, you know, Joe will intuitively kind of put melodies over it and then kind of go away and work on that. And yeah, so that's a really nice aspect that, like, you know, again, me and Joe can only speak for our own previous experiences, which is Cheap Teeth, and we maybe sometimes weren't able to write in the room as much just because we were all kind of spread over the country a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been quite nice, and it's just a bit different, you know. Like I'm not slighting my experience of Cheap Teeth, or it's just a different thing, and it feels very organic.
Am I right in saying, Jack, did you study in Manchester?
Yeah. So I did like an undergraduate degree in Manchester, and then I did like a postgrad in Newcastle, which was why I joined Cheap Teeth because I used to commute from Newcastle. And funnily enough, I used to live with the old bass player from Cheap Teeth, who's like our best mate from home.
Right.
And I lives in Australia. But
I
was in Manchester.
What was it you were studying? Because I've seen, obviously, you were into your spoken word, John Cooper Clarke and stuff like that, which I've had quite a few spoken word people on the podcast. So does kind of the spoken word element come into the songwriting process?
Oh, great. Yeah, definitely. I mean, maybe not as much because I don't know. I'm kind of focusing on like music more, and I'll kind of leave the melody aspect of stuff kind of more to Joe. But I like helping with lyrics as and when I kind of can, and we kind of just do that because we live together and do that in the flat. But yeah, it's always definitely been an influence just in general. Like I'm very into that. And Scotland's amazing. Like Glasgow's amazing for like spoken word stuff. Who have you had on?
Yeah, I've had Matt Abbott. Can you mind Matt Abbott for round about the noughties? What was it? But he's skint and demoralised. Round about your way. Round about Yorkshire way.
Right. Okay. No, not.
He done the nationwide adverts as well.
All right,
Around
cool.
about that time. I've had him, and I've had Jack Horner, Leon the pig farmer.
Yeah.
He's based down in Manchester, and I had a guy from Dundee, and I've got a few other.
Who's the guy from Dundee? I only asked because I came across a person I've got a friend called Jason. He has a friend called David Linklayer. And I came across his work. It's not him, is it? I think
No, it's not. It's a boy, Mark Richardson. I found him on Facebook. There seems to be, see, once you find one of the guys on Facebook, they're all in like a community together.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all passing their stuff a bit. So
Yeah. But yeah, that like modern tongue-in-cheek spoken word stuff I've got very into. And like, yeah, I've been reading a lot of a person called Hera Lindsay Bird and her stuff. Definitely at the moment manifest. Whenever I'm helping with lyrics and stuff, I'm definitely kind of drawing on that type of ironic imagery. I think.
desperate to get John Cooper Clarke on the podcast, but apparently can't use a computer. So
Aye.
that,
I
that's how I
went to
can't get
see
him
him in
on.
Newcastle and like it was amazing. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I mean, for I know guys get so much energy as well. And he's still got everything. He's still got all his scribbles. He
Yeah,
knows what he's talking about.
it's unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, my mate, I went with the guy, or the old bassist from Cheap Teeth, Tom, and he was like, "Oh, I'm glad I got us tickets for this because I reckon that he won't be around for that much longer." Looking at him, but it's also like he's kind of looked like that since
Yeah.
the late '70s, and he'll probably outlive all of us. I imagine.
So obviously the EP Epoxy Plains comes out 8th of March, which is tomorrow. But as I mentioned, this podcast will be out the following week. A couple of songs already out on Spotify, Modern Religion and what is it, Halfway to Hockney. So what can people expect from the rest of the EP?
I think, I think it's interesting. It kind of ties into maybe some of the questions you've already asked about the writing process and stuff. I think it's quite a varied EP. I think there's quite a lot of different songs on there. I think Jack and I wrote them before as we were kind of moving up to Scotland. So the band's taken a bit of a influence from Chris and Emmy since they've joined, but these songs were kind of written prior to that. So there's quite a lot of variety in there because it's whilst Jack and I were kind of deciding what we wanted to do next and what the band wanted to sound like. And a big theme for the EP, like kind of the running theme of the EP, is kind of a bit of a lack of identity or the fear of not having an identity. So there's a lot of songs on the EP about people kind of worried about what their identity might be or worried about what their legacy might be. And a lot of the lyrics talk about that and kind of the impression that you leave and worried about what people might think of you. And I think that's kind of what we were going through at the time as well when we started the band and when we wrote the EP. We were kind of thinking, right, okay, well, what do we want people to think of us and what do we want the impression to be? And ultimately, I think through writing this EP, we came to realization that you shouldn't worry. And, you know, as long as you're creating stuff and as long as you're putting stuff out, then you kind of, it doesn't matter. And you can get kind of stuck worried about who you are and what you might be putting out, but actually not ever put anything out. So it's just really nice to kind of be creative in it and just create music and get back to it. And I think that's a really good message. I think that comes across in a lot of the lyrics of the EP. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cathartic. It's like a real time. The creation of it was a real time catharsis. Catharsis, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you feel pressure? Obviously, we having cheap teeth because I was looking at the Spotify, 12.9 thousand monthly listeners. So you were doing something right, you know what I mean? You were getting a good traction there to then start this. Obviously, you're back kind of at the start. So do you feel pressure to kind of get back to that level?
I think I don't feel as much pressure. I think it's more we want to just do it for ourselves, really. I don't think there's any external pressure, which is really nice because there's no, we don't have any management, we don't have an agent or anything like that. So we're just doing it all ourselves at the minute. And that's really nice. It takes away some of the external pressure, and it's more just doing it for ourselves. Like we want to get back to where we were before. So do the other members of the bands. They've got their own projects and stuff, and ultimately you want them all to be successful. But I think that just the pace that we've moved at already with this thing is just great. And I think that came from a hunger, like you say. I think that came from a hunger from the other thing finishing and being like, right, let's just throw ourselves into this and let's get it back to where we were as quickly as possible. And I think the pace that we've done stuff at so far is because of that, really.
Yeah. Does that come from experience? Because you kind of think, like, well, we've made these mistakes in the past, so we know what we're doing here. So it kind of gives you that kind of cheat sheet sort of.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, experience, and also I think just having, it gives you more determination, and also we've put a lot of energy into it. Especially my Jack and myself. Like we really threw ourselves into this and dedicated a lot of time into it, and I think we knew that whatever energy we put in, we'd get out of it, because like you said, we've got the experience before, and it comes from just working on it really hard and chasing people and hounding people and putting yourself out there again, and it does pay off.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that and just be like, we're all quite seasoned in kind of being in bands. So like me and Joe, obviously Cheap Teeth and stuff, but like Emmy's in a band called Big Girls Blouse and has been doing it since she was like in her early teens, and Chris obviously with Catholic Action and stuff. And we're all it's very fun doing it again, like at where we're at, but like we're all very used to being really productive. So we've already like toured like twice, but we've only been a band in like 6 months, just because we're kind of all like, it's what we want to do. And so it's good. It's a good crossroads between being very productive but also being very new. It's like, I think people are a bit like, well, who are these guys who've got like all these shows and stuff, but we're just knocking on the door of as many people as we can, and booking all our own shows and stuff, but it's going well.
Yeah. So that leads me on to then the kind of next thing. So what's the plan for the rest of 2024? Obviously, you mentioned earlier to bring out some more singles after the EP, but like gig wise and all that, what have you got coming up in the near future?
So we've got a tour for May, which is going to be announced probably around the time this EP comes out. So if it's not out then, there's a little surprise for everyone. But yeah, a tour for May, which is kind of mainly like southern dates, so like southern England and a bit of Wales and some other stuff like that. And then we're going to do another tour in August, which is going to be more northern dates, Scotland again. And then in between that, hopefully just picking up the odd day festival and some summer festivals as well in kind of June and July, and then have singles kind of released around those tours, really. So we've got a lot planned actually. This was the year, last year we were kind of setting everything up, and then this was the year for us to kind of put our foot down.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting to come back like this, as we said, like, and kind of the kind of tricks and traps and things like that, so you can dodge it on. I'd say this time next year, you'll be the biggest band in the UK. We'll go with that, eh?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I should have said that.
Only fools and horses.
So the last bit of the podcast, obviously, Pod Time for Heroes, after the Libertines, my all-time favourite band. So I asked my guests to pick 4 heroes to come for dinner. What would you cook them, and why have you chosen them as your heroes? I say 4 heroes, but some people have picked up to 15, so I'm not too strict on it. Gemma Clark, it was for Baby Shambles. She just couldn't stop it to cut her off in the end.
Well, we've luckily thought about this and we've picked 2 each. Right. So I think we won't waste your whole afternoon. So we've got 2 each, but I think they're quite strong ones. So we'll take it in alternative goes if you want. So I'll go first, Jack, if you want.
Yeah, cool.
All right, okay. So my first hero that I pick would be David Hockney. So I think it ties quite into well with the EP, and obviously the first single is Halfway to Hockney. it gets mentioned a lot of times on the EP, and I think a lot of people asking me why and why do we mention him all the time and what's the relation to the band and stuff. And I think the true answer is like when we started the band and like we said to you when we were writing the EP, we did a lot of reflecting. And I kind of went back to like the core music of what I like. You know, you mentioned the Libertines and your all-time favorite band. I think we went back to a lot of bands that we like, and well, I did anyway. Like a lot of the Modern Lovers and Television and the Pixies and bands like that. And I kind of noticed that there was a common theme between a lot of them. That a lot of them sing about artists. A lot of them sing about artists that they like. You know, Picasso, Rembrandt, Jonathan Richman's got songs about Vermeer. You know, the songs in Television about sculptures, and same with the Pixies and stuff as well. So I was kind of like, well, who's my one? Do you know what I mean? Who would be my kind of inspiration if I was going down that same route? And it was just obvious. It was just like, obviously it's David Hockney because he's a Yorkshire lad. He's from Bradford. He's it's where I was born. And he's kind of one of the last great real true like master painters that we've got left really, and he's still alive, which is fantastic, and still making art to this day. And I think it just like when I sat down and thought of it like that, it just really inspired me, and kind of then on the follow-up from that went to quite a few of his exhibitions, one down in London, one in Bradford, and it just gave us a lot of inspiration at the time, and kind of felt like a bit of a focal point for some of the writing we were doing.
Right, that's good. I like all this because I like it when I get people that have never been picked before. So I'm hoping to go for the clean sweep today.
Well, I think I've heard Jack's ones. So I think you might be all right.
Are we doing it alternative, Joe?
Yeah, go on, mate. You go for it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I had to go for someone who was. I wanted to go for someone who was a key formative figure for myself, and has been a big influence on the band, no doubt. I'm joking, probably hasn't been a big influence on the band. Maybe kind of subconsciously has, because I was obsessed with this person when I was younger. I've kind of gone for the kind of poetic justice angle. Was the first thing I kind of thought of when I was thinking about the question. So yeah, I've gone for Steve Irwin because I was obsessed with the Crocodile Hunter. I used to have like all of his videos and stuff, and then I remember when he died, I was devastated. So I've gone for Steve Irwin. I said we could barbecue a stingray on the beach together.
Just to get a bit of revenge.
Yeah,
sweet revenge.
Justice. Barbecue that motherfucker. So
I've not heard Steve Irwin in about 10, 15 years. Man.
It's just I don't know what it was. The first person that came to mind. I was having this conversation with Chris the other day, just about like, I don't know, when you're young and you have like random fixations with people, like, I don't know, like I was just so obsessed with the Crocodile Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
I was really like obsessed with kind of. I was really into like nature, and when I was a kid, I was really into like dinosaurs and stuff. I used to have all the Walking with Dinosaurs videos, and some of the videos I had all Crocodile Hunter videos.
What was it happened to him? Did he get killed with a crocodile? Was that right?
No, so it was a stingray. If you didn't know,
right.
He was the only ever recorded death via stingray was Steve Irwin.
Right.
There's one recorded death from stingray, and it was Steve Irwin, and the barb went into his heart,
right?
Which is and it was a big heart, so it was a big target for the stingray to aim.
But that's the thing with guys like that were that kind of into nature and animals and things like that. He would probably like to die that way anyway.
Yeah, that was kind of the chat from, I don't know. Yeah, in the
fitting way to go.
I remember, yeah.
It's like when you see the guys that are like cuddling bears and all that, and then end up getting their head ripped off with a bear.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's like he was a good teacher because he wasn't scared of anything. He'd be literally like on a crocodile's back, like, oh, here's a nice a nice little fella. You know what I mean? Just like sticking his hand in its mouth and stuff. And it was a stingray that got him. It's like, you can live. People live really dangerous lives, and then they die just like falling over. You know what I mean? So you've got to not avoid. You've got to not avoid danger.
Yeah, I mean, I mind watching that. There's I think he's a South African guy. I'm right into lions.
Aye.
This guy, he was a young boy, maybe like 30s or whatever, and he had lions, and he used to kind of they walked about with him. He had like a pride of lions, and he was part of the pride, and he'd be rubbing their heads and all that, and you're like, that's fucking mental, man. It'd be my dream to go on like a safari and meet all these things, but I think I'd end up I wouldn't. I couldn't fucking get near the window to look at them.
Yeah, like I get nervous around like horses. Like people over there, like you were saying, is like I've seen like videos of like Russian people just like messing about with bears, and I think I've probably seen that lion guy, and it's like what I don't know, like I was on the Isle of Arran with my other half not long ago, and she was like, oh, this is a nice horse, and she was like stroking this horse's nose. I was like,
because if they go off, if they take the nap, look, it's like seeing their back legs. I can mind I had a dog, and we took it a walk down the woods down where we are, the fields, and the dog got in the field and it was running after a horse.
aye.
Shouldn't be doing it anyway, but the horse can rattled it with its back legs and broke the dog's jaw.
Did it?
Yeah.
That's mad. I thought it was normally horses normally kick with their front feet and donkeys kick with the back feet.
Oh,
I don't know if someone told, you get told random things and then it sticks with you as fact. I don't know if that's actually just completely.
They possibly do. I know that the dog was at the back of the horse.
So it was giving
it
him
was
a bit
easier
of
for it to kick him with its back legs than its front legs. They ended up breaking its neck if it tried to use its front legs.
Well, I hope your dog's all. Is it that dog that's there that got?
No, this dog's fine. This was years ago.
Oh, good. Well,
he's
whichever
fine.
dog it was, I hope that dog's okay.
Joe, what's your next choice?
Yeah, okay. Well, mine sounds really serious now after that. So, but yeah, no. So you're gonna feed Steve Irwin a stingray, barbecued stingray. Okay, I didn't mention the David Hotney one. Obviously, him being a Yorkshire boy, I'd just make him a roast dinner, Yorkshire puddings, Yorkshire tea, do him like a Yorkshire spread.
Mm-hmm.
He likes a spread, if you know what I mean. So, make him a Yorkshire spread. But yeah, my second person, I kind of mentioned it a little bit in the first person, would be Jonathan Richman from the Modern Lovers. Just simply because it is simple. I think his music's really simple. His solo music's really simple. He's a really interesting guy. I like listening to his interviews. He's very animated. I like the way he speaks. And just like, he kind of really boils music down to its like basics. Do you know what I mean? Like he's done covers of like the Wheels on the Bus that are good. Do you know what I mean? And you think, why do I like this so much? And it's because he puts so much heart and kind of emotion into the way he sings. And when he gets you, there's lyrics before. I remember speaking to you, Jack, and there was a lyric and you were like, that lyric's rubbish. And then he said the next line and you were like, oh no, it's actually amazing because he puts it into context and it's just really simple. Yeah. And I love Jonathan Richman. He's definitely one of my heroes. Definitely inspires a lot of the music we do, and just to try and keep things as simple as possible. If it doesn't sound good on an acoustic guitar with just the chords and singing, then maybe it's overcomplicated, and maybe you should kind of strip it back and make it simpler and make it more fun and make it more sweet. And I think that's something he was really, really good at. And to go what I would make him, what he would eat. I feel like he's such a simple guy and he just likes kind of simple pleasures. I feel like I'd just make him like a bowl of spaghetti and like tomato sauce, just like nice spaghetti, nice tomato sauce. I feel like he would just sit kind of maybe with a nice glass of a nice beer or something and just sit and chat and eat his spaghetti and just be very content and wouldn't need anything flash or fancy to kind of keep him happy. I think he would be very happy and content with that. So, yeah, that's what I'd make him.
That's as I say, that's three new choices anyway. So going for the clean sweep now, no pressure on you, Jack.
What was that lyric, Joe? It was in that hospital
Yeah,
song.
it's in Hospital by Modern Lovers, and it's like, I go to bakeries all day long.
And then
you were
I was
like,
like, yeah,
that's
yeah.
stupid. Like, what a
We were
ridiculous lyric.
literally we were driving in the car. Like I remember, I don't remember we were driving, but I remember it. We may be driving to like where your mum lives in Scarborough or something. It was like I remember it being a really nice drive. I remember being, God, some of the stuff he comes out with is just tripe, isn't it?
It's
And it's like
nonsense.
I go to bakeries all the time. It was like that's crap. And it's like what was
And then
it?
you were like, yeah, I go to bakeries all day long. And then you were like, that's rubbish. And then it was like, because there's a lack of sweetness in my life or something. And you were like, oh my God.
And he started
You're
crying.
like, he's absolutely saved it. Yeah, that's brilliant. So yeah, he kind of catches you out with stuff like that. But he's great. He's great.
It's funny
Yeah.
that as well. You mentioned that. Obviously, the Arctic Monkeys, one of their B sides was "God the Bakery," and I always thought that was a bit weird. That like the lyrics in that talking about meeting a girl in a bakery. Like I've never met any former
Just
girlfriends and
poorly
Greg's or
looking
anything like
blokes. Yeah. Just really angry looking blokes waiting for a pasty.
Life
Yeah.
changed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Big
dream. I
brain.
think it was a bit of a fantasy for Mr. Turner. His dream of Sheffield would be that I think all the bakeries would be filled with nice women, but it's got a long way to go, I think.
Yeah,
You're on
definitely
that.
no up here. Any of the places I've been up here, they're usually about 50 stone or whatever.
Yeah, I agree.
Depends on the bakery. Pound Bakery. I think that's a romantic place. Yeah, we've kind of gone. It seems we've both gone for a musician for our second choice. I was thinking about two people for my second choice, but I'm going to pick one. And I'm going to go with Mitski because I was going to go. It was out of Patti Smith or Mitski because I don't know. Patti Smith has been popping up everywhere for me. Like yesterday, I was at work and Horses came on. And then with the like poetic irony thing, I was thinking I could take Patti Smith for like a Sainsbury's beef burger and we could eat horse. But no, I've gone with Mitski because when we kind of formed Conscious Pilot, I don't know if it was for Joe's birthday or something that you got that. Is it the second latest Mitski album? I can't remember the names, but yeah, living with Joe, I kind of by proxy get all of his presents whenever he gets records. So um, that's been a feature in our flat. Has just been listening to a lot of Mitski. And I know you've kind of liked her for a long time, haven't you, Joe? But I'd never got into her until you got that record. And yeah, through that I kind of unlocked her whole discography and realised that she's a real enigma. And yeah, she's got this song called "I Don't Like My Mind," and in the song she describes herself eating a whole cake on Christmas Eve. She just eats this whole cake and is like sick all over herself. And I think it's a statement kind of towards at the end of the song, she's like, I on an inconvenient Christmas, I eat a cake, so please don't take this job away from me. And it's kind of like if she didn't have art, she'd she'd have kind of gone kind of a bit crazy and would be in some hotel room somewhere eating a cake and being sick on herself on Christmas. And obviously that's just funny, so it's kind of hyperbole, but there's also a kind of sad truth in it probably, and she kind of wears it out on her sleeve. So anyway, I said because of that, I'd eat a whole cake with Mitski, or maybe and a whole cake each, and then we could both be sick on ourselves.
You've mentioned obviously between the two of you, you've mentioned about lyrics and how kind of some of the lyrics are quite humorous, stand out to you, and that's maybe why you like them. Obviously, and some of the songs off this EP, there seems to be at times quite humorous lyrics. Is that an influence? Is that something you've done consciously, or do you think that's just seeped in?
I think so. Yeah, I think there are some funny lyrics, and especially some of the tracks like the Benidorm lyrics are really, really funny. And I think we had fun writing them. I think that was the thing. Like we had more time to spend on lyrics, and I think as a result, we just had quite a lot of fun when we wrote them. Whereas before, maybe in other songs or previous stuff that we've done, we didn't think about them enough, and kind of they were a bit of an afterthought maybe. Whereas this, we kind of had a bit of time to have a bit of fun with it, and because we were happy with the music, we could move on to lyrics, and then we were kind of happy because the music's good, and then we can have fun with the lyrics, sort of thing. So yeah, there's some stuff. There's some really like out of context stuff. Like, there's people who've heard a lot of the lyrics who think they're kind of crazy, but we could explain them all. And I think there's a lot of like no context Conscious Pilot memes that could be made of just random lyrics that are in some of the songs that would be quite funny. Maybe I'll make them someday from like an anonymous meme page.
You can make like an egg page.
I could make like a Twitter egg, and just kind of mock ourselves. Yeah,
that would be so meta if you were like self-trolling in like a masochistic way. I think that's quite. Maybe you do that, and I don't know.
Just to you, mate.
I was wondering who that egg was.
Yeah, I've went off funny.
I was about to say you've gone purple, Martin.
We go to clean sweep then. That's 4 different choices. Obviously, you mentioned Patti Smith. I don't think Patti Smith has ever been chosen either. So if you'd went with that choice as well, you still get a clean sweep.
We can withdraw that if you want, just because I feel bad if someone else wants to say it and they don't.
No, she's ours now, mate.
She's ours.
She's ours. She's in there. Yeah, we get a bonus round.
Bonus round. That's cool.
Yeah.
But it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. I've been listening to the EP. Obviously, I get a wee promo copy of it for PR. So it's sounding really good, man. I'm really impressed with it, and all the best for once it comes out. And hopefully, once this podcast out a week's time, you get a wee bit more traction again. Looking forward to seeing you on your tour in the autumn and whatever you do there. And all the best.
I love to meet you, Martin. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Cheers for having us, and appreciate the questions. And like some thought put into those questions. So thank you very much, mate. Appreciate
it. Brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Speak soon. Bye.
I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Time for Heroes podcast. If you would like to get in touch, the best way is on the Facebook page, Time for Heroes podcast, or on Instagram at Time for Heroes podcast, or Twitter at Time for Heroes P1, or drop me an email at timeforheroespod@gmail.com. You'll find Time for Heroes on all podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple, Google, and Amazon. Please leave a review where you can, share with others, and more importantly, enjoy.